You are listening to Gia and the Blast from the Past, The Gustafson Girls, Book 4, written and narrated by Becky Doughty. Chapter 1. Gia stood in the hushed foyer, dressed in apple green and carrying a button bouquet of peach roses and paper-petaled bells of Ireland. Beside her, Ricky stood tall and nervous in his dark suit with the slim-fit pants that made him look rather debonair. But when he grinned down at her, to her surprise, even in her strappy heels, he still had a good couple of inches on her. She released the breath she'd been holding and slipped her hand into the crook of his proffered arm. Just in front of them, Renata and Tim waited in silence for their cue, but Tim's large hand curled affectionately around his wife's where it rested on his forearm. The dreamy smile on Wren's face as she glanced up at her man gave away her thoughts. Gia was certain her older sister was remembering her own wedding only 6 months earlier. Behind Gia and Ricky, Phoebe and Trevor whispered words too soft to catch, but Gia knew the things they said to each other were tender, and, knowing Phoebes, probably a little steamy, too, and full of promises of their own. At the back of the entourage, the matron of honor and Juliet's best friend forever, Sharon Scoville, tended to the bride's every need. She straightened her train for the umpteenth time, checked that her shiny black curls cascaded exquisitely down her back beneath the sheer sweep of her veil, and that her bouquet of French lavender, lily of the valley, bells of Ireland, and the same peach-hued sweet Juliet roses were clutched low at her waist so the intricately beaded neckline of her bodice wouldn't be obscured. And, of course, Gramps, eyes glistening with tears that would soon spill over as he made his way up the aisle with his eldest granddaughter on his arm, stood in for Papa. His back was still strong, and his shoulders remained broad enough to bear the burdens and joys of each one of his Gustafson girls. The gentle strains of Canon in D wafted from inside the sanctuary, making Gia smile. Her oldest sister and soon-to-be brother-in-law were 2 peas in a pod with their old-fashioned church wedding, complete with classic wedding songs and traditional vows. Even Trevor's special number he'd written to sing during the lighting of their oh-so-traditional unity candle, although heart-wrenching and poignant, resonated with ageless beauty, as though surely it had been part of 100 million weddings before today.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?